All right, call meeting to order by Mr. El-Yahim at 6:22 p.m. Roll call of members. El-Yahim?
Present.
Mr. Vade?
Present.
Ms. Hall?
President.
Ms. Watson? Not here. Mr. Ferris? Yeah. All right, Ms. Bolinek? Not here, so we have quorum. Acceptance of agenda, resolution number 1. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Here's Mr. El-Yahim, seconded by Mr. Ubaid. Resolved that the Board of Education accepts and approves the agenda with any additions or deletions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4 ayes, 3 absent. Motion carries. All right, before we jump on into the budget hearing, I would like to take this time to acknowledge MST Begum, who is one of our graduates that walked the stage this year. She was awarded a scholarship for $2,500 from the Turkey Stearns Foundation at the Juneteenth event that was held at the Turkey Stearns for Juneteenth. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be there for the event, so MST, please come up to receive a check along with a photo with the Board of Education.
Should my parents come?
Yes, you can.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you mind taking a photo? Alright, we gotta get together.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll be like-
3.
Alright, thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congrats. Oh, okay.
Make Hamtramck proud.
Right.
That's a minute.
Thank you.
MST, I think you won for artwork. Was that correct?
Was that artwork?
Yeah.
Good job, great job.
Okay, what, I should have asked you to bring your artwork and to show it to us. And please don't feel obligated to stay for the meeting because we'll probably be another hour.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's why we did this first, to congratulate you, and great job. Keep up the good work. You're
Thank
making
you.
him
Yeah,
try
keep working hard.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Great year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Congrats
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, the budget hearing. All right, the budget hearing will be presented by Jim Larson and Cindy.
All right.
Zinsky.
I'll do the budget a little bit different this year, just,
This one?
yes. Oh, no, I want the first one.
This one? These are the two that I
Nope. It's gotta go back to the first page. There we go, yep. You know what, I'm gonna go up here and sit with Cindy so I can see what's going on behind me. I think it'd be easier.
You can just hit arrow down to go down to the next page.
Perfect, thanks. Okay.
Yeah, make good words.
All right, so the first slide we have, so what I did was, in the past, we've tried doing separate meetings for the budget amendment, the final amendment, then a separate meeting for the original budget. And this time we're gonna try to do it all in one presentation.
Okay.
So on this one, you'll see, for the revenues, we have last year's actual, the original budget, the first amendment, the proposed amendment, and the proposed original budget for next year. So I'll just go through and explain some of the changes. So local revenues in 24-25 changed in the amendment. It's by $268,000. This is an increase in investment earnings of approximately $200,000 and an increase in taxes for the 18 mills that we, remember we were at 17.5 We restored the 18 mills, and it equated to about $70,000. The increase going forward into 25-26 is another increase in investment earnings of approximately $300,000. And I'll get into why we have the funds to invest in a little bit. Next, going to state changes for 24-25. State changes approximately $1.3 million. And a large portion of this is really due to the coaching grant that we received for $2 million. That was for a 2-year grant. We're actually in year 2. We're not able to spend it all. The state allowed us to carry it over 1 more year. So this year we'll spend about 1.2, so we'll have $800,000 for next year. So that $800,000 slides into next year's revenues. And then just based on the final FTE calculation after they do the audit and everything, is about $235,000 that we lost on the FTEs. Then going into 25-26, this is a big change. State change of about $12 million, going from $46.1 million to $58.1. This is largely due to a grant that I told you that we wrote 2 grants, infrastructure grants, in the February-March timeframe, and we didn't receive one. We received the second one for $8.6 million. So this has, what this is going to allow us to do is after ESSER funds expired, we're going to have to use all general fund dollars. This replaces about $12 million. Now we get 8.6 in this grant. We only have to spend about 4.3 of general fund dollars. So we actually saved about $8 million. That's huge. Then the other part going into the change in state revenues. So the process for the state aid, school aid act goes first. The governor comes out with an executive budget. Then the Senate and the House, they come out with their budgets. Then they go to, they combine. They look at the budgets, try to compare each other to come down to a final budget. We're not there yet. So looking at all 3 proposals, they estimate what our increase would be. So I took about the middle one, which is the House, and that's a $3.3 million increase. So I just estimated that into our state aid. Then also looked at level enrollment. Intermediate is really the money we get from Wayne Risa. That's our countywide millage. That stays about the same. And then indirect costs changed about $32,000. And this is really some of it. So to explain indirect costs you're allowed to take a certain portion for administration of federal grants that you write. It's down just a little bit because with the ESSER 3, you're not allowed to take indirect costs on capital purchases. So we had estimated our ESSER 3 was going to be really for other things than capital. It turned out to be capital intensive. So that's why you see it went down from the original budget from 771 to 602 to finally to 570. Last thing, Oops. This is hard to see, but I gave you a big ledger sheet. Starting with general fund expenditures, they're actually pretty low. If you look at well, you have colored green compared to the blue. Okay. So if you look down at the bottom, our expenditures at the First Amendment were total $87.6 million. They're $88.1 million in the final amendment. The change came in the revenues, what I just went through. So our revenues decreased, estimate increased about, what was that, about 1 million. So that accounts for that decrease. And then looking at the original, looking at the last slide there is what, again, I took the amounts that from the state, the House version, and then going down the expenditures, I increased only the salary and benefits portions based on what our negotiation parameters are. So you'll see an increase just for those salaries, benefits, and also in federal projects. So the big change there, we went from 32 million last year to 26 million because ESSER funds are done. So that's a big portion that is falling off our federal grants. And if you look at the estimated ending fund balance, we're at 17.2 million, or I'm sorry, percent. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is if you look at the green, if you go all the way down, and down at the bottom you'll see where there's 8,095,471. Okay, that's what you see it.
The green.
The green.
In the green, yeah. It's the second number from the bottom. So that was the amount that we were reserving to do the HVAC projects, okay? But since we got the grant, we decreased that, and now the grant, the 8.6 million, we have a 1 to 2 match. So we have to contribute $4.3 million
To get the 8.6.
to get the 8.6. So if you look at the blue, the final amendment, I reserved the 4.3,
So they can match.
and then in the next year's budget, we
Which is
incorporate it
this
into the
coming
budget. Yeah, next year.
Yeah.
I put that into the budget, so you don't see the amount, and that's why you see a
Zero.
deficit. Well, you actually see a deficit of $5 million,
Oh.
because 4.3 million of that is our match. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see, I already talked about the, so we did receive $1 million infrastructure grant in our state aid last year. That is built into next year because the project started, right after school got out. So we're not going to be spending the $1 million this year, it'll be spent next year. And again, $750,000, that was for the bathrooms at the high school. And then I talked about the health and safety grant of $8.6 million. Going forward, sinking funds. So this will be an interesting one because when the ESSER funds were expended totally, we started using funds out of the sinking fund. So we still had about $1.4 million left over, even though it expired in '23. So we were spending money for, we were using that first before we went to the general fund. We're also using it for Conan. So I anticipate that with our match, we'll go back and we will move some of the money out, so we will probably still have sinking fund dollars next year. I just can't anticipate what those are right now before we close.
Good.
How much, I guess, would you want?
I'm sorry?
How much would you want?
How much would I want?
Yeah, in the sinking fund, like if you were. I know you can't anticipate how much you're gonna have, but I'm saying like,
Yeah.
what's
the goal?
yeah, what's the goal? There you
Well,
go.
I think so far, we hit 300,000 or 400,000 that we thought we could move. So we could use this for our match, or we could take a general fund. You really want to try to protect the general fund
Yeah,
because you can use that for
anything.
anything. Yeah. Next one is recreation. So this is fairly even from the First Amendment. Going into next year, there will be a slight increase, which Cindy will go over in a second when she goes over the L4029. And then also in expenditures, you can see down for maintenance and operations, we have budgeted next year $290,000. That is because we're going to use recreation money for the pool, the tiles, upgrade the pool, renovate it, and then also the bleachers.
The bleachers.
Yeah.
Bleachers and.
That'll be the summer or no?
In the.
This summer,
season?
yep,
Okay.
this summer. And the last is food service. So this is really consistent with the amended budget going into next year. Of course, you know, we're out to bid right now for food service. That will come back, I believe, July 9th. We'll get the bids back, and then we'll probably, you know, depending on the July board meeting, if we can get it in July or go to early August. So I increased by 3% the cost for purchase services. And then if you look down under capital, I increased that. Amended, that is to finish the Holbrook project. And then lastly, the, well, if we end this year with $1.6 million, MDE will contact us. They're behind. They should have contacted us 2 years ago. You're only supposed to carry 2 to 3 months expenditures going forward. So we should really only have about $600,000 fund balance. So I anticipate that we'll look to replace equipment, possibly have lunch aids. You know, we'll have to come up with a plan to spend that money down.
You mentioned that you have some expenditures for Holbrook. Is that to fit, like, kind of get
Finish the kitchen.
finish all the problems or whatever there was in it, all that? Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's-
haven't finished the kitchen yet?
Sorry.
No, not
Sorry?
yet.
No,
Not yet.
Not yet.
And that's where you're going for this summer, over this summer to get it done, or is that gonna spill into the school year?
Is it because of the contract?
It will, I doubt it will be done this summer.
Oh, you doubt?
Right now, we are,
Still going.
yeah, going through the process, I'll put it that way, to,
It's a long process.
yeah, figure out how to get this
We got
finished.
lawyers involved and all that stuff.
No, I know, that's
So
why I just.
what happened to the contractor? How far we are?
Right now, it's with the lawyers, pretty much handling the case. And Jim's working through it, so
Yeah, so,
we're trying to get through this. It's
Yeah.
gonna take more than the summer.
At least by the end of this year, like by end of 2025 at least?
I would hope at some
Hopefully
point
this
we
summer,
can
but-
start.
I mean,
We'll just see.
obviously, even tomorrow,
Yeah.
but, you know, I'm just,
Yeah.
a
I-
timeline, you know, like, you know, we all want some kind of, I know it's hard to do, but.
Yeah, I thought it would be done this summer, but we're not even started. We're not even at having a contractor in.
So we started all the projects? I thought we hired another contractor to do the job.
Unfortunately, once you hire the contractor that we had, they really have control over the job. They have a contract with us. So unless they were to say, you know what, we'll leave,
Or we'll
you
void
get
the
somebody
contract.
else, yeah,
But
void
the-
the contract.
We have contract, they have time limit, they have this, so they broke it too.
They don't really have a time limit.
They don't have a time limit?
No.
We should have a time limit.
Well,
We should have.
We should have. We
that's-
should have been on the
you know,
contract.
I mean,
That's why
every
we,
project, you
switched
should have the time
Changed
limit.
in-house
for it.
of some,
Yeah, I think we
Especially
started.
with contracts,
Yeah.
you know, they take the money and disappear.
Well, they don't disappear because
I mean,
we
they
only
didn't disappear,
we
but
only
they-
pay as they
As they go.
complete.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they still, you know, they take forever.
It's been a 3-year project.
I think it's lesson learned, you know, for
Yeah.
the future, and we just have to move on and keep, you know, going. That's it.
Go through the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you want Cindy to go over the 4029 right now, then you can go into the resolutions.
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
oh, sorry, and, for the food service,
Yeah.
or the, I know we extended them for like another month or two last meeting, didn't we?
We did. We, because the bids weren't going to be in before summer school started, we extended them to the end of August.
Okay, and I guess that's gonna be a yearly thing, right? Because I guess.
No. What happens is, so food service contracts are 5 years.
Oh,
They're
this
five-
one ended.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one ended June 30th, but because we didn't have.
Yeah, no,
somebody else-
that I get that. So are they in the bid as well? Just-
They are, yeah. We met last week and I believe there were probably 6 companies now. Toured the high school, toured KMS kitchen, cafeterias, you know, just to give them a sense of what they would be working in and answer questions and so forth.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So as part of our budget planning, we have to prepare what's called an L4029. It's an annual document that is put together for the city of Hamtramck so that they know how much in taxes to levy to our taxpayers. This document is used in that the millage rates that are listed on here that are levied are also what we use to derive our revenue budgets that Jim spoke about. So the first line on here is the voter-approved non-homestead millage. We had been in a rollback situation, which just means that as property tax values increase higher than inflation,
Right.
we have to roll back the amount of mills we can levy to keep it to the rate of inflation. But that's a permanent rollback. And we had been in that situation for a few years. And back in November of this year, the voters approved to restore that.
Right.
And so with that restoration, we are back to levying the maximum mills of 18 mills. That becomes important because the 18 mills that we levy, along with what the state gives us, is the 2 components that make up the foundation allowance.
Right.
And I think we're estimating about $10,000 per student this year in foundation allowance. And then the next line on here is the recreational millage. We are also in a rollback for the recreational millage, but that was not restored at any point this year.
Correct.
So our budget, as Jim had mentioned, includes the increase for inflation. So even though those millage rates decreased because of the property tax value and revenue in our recreational millage. And the last thing I will point out related to that is it is due to expire in December of 2026. So within the next year or two, we'll have to start thinking about whether that's a
It's
millage.
a 10 years, right?
It was a 10-year millage.
Because I remember 2006,
Yeah.
we went through that.
Yeah. So we're coming up on the end of that 10 years very soon. And that's really the highlights of the L4029. If you have any questions?
So if it gets approved, there is no increase to the residents or anything. It's pretty much the same thing as previous years, correct?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Unless there is increase on taxes.
Just on taxes, yeah.
Yes. Well, you'd go for
I
the
mean,
Yeah,
replacement.
you'd go for a replacement or a renewal.
Renewal,
Right.
I'm sorry, renewal, yeah.
Okay,
It's for,
okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions you guys have? About the budget, anything about the budget or anything? You guys can ask questions.
I already asked.
Go ahead.
Certain things.
All right, thank you. Resolution number 2, approval final amendment budget 2024-2025. Can I get a motion?
motion?
Motion by Mr. Obaid,
Second.
second by Ms. Hall. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the final amendment 2024-2025 budget as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye, 4 ayes, 3 absent. Motion carries. Resolution number 3, approval of proposed budget 2025-2026. Can I get a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Obaid.
Second.
Second, I heard Mr. Edgehame. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the proposed 2025-2026 budgets as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 4 ayes, 3 absent. Motion carries. All right, tax rates, she already discussed it. Resolution number 4, approval of tax rates. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Edgehame, Second by Mr. Obaid. Resolved that the Hamtramck Board of Education, after reviewing the budgetary needs of the school district and review of the maximum allowable millage levy, set the school tax millage rates for the fiscal year 2025-2026 as follows. 18 mills on non-homestead taxable value, 3.9289 mills recreation on all taxable value. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4 ayes, 3 absent, motion carries. Resolution number 5, approval of employment. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I heard Mr. Obaid first, second by Ms. Hall. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the employment of Sandra Jackson, Special Education Compliance Manager, annual salary of $92,700, effective July 1st, 2025. She's not here, right?
What would be that step?
So,
That's, well, it's a non-union
Okay,
position,
yes.
but that's the starting rate.
And I think this is just, filling, the seat of a vacancy, so.
Yes.
I was gonna say, what does a compliance manager do? Is that for?
It's your special education,
For special education.
to make sure the teachers are doing their IEPs correctly.
Oh, okay, all right, there you go.
Because we used to have a lot of lawsuits.
No, yeah, that's good. I was just saying, like, what is their role exactly?
We used to have a lot of problem with special ed.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4 ayes, 3 absent, motion carries. Resolution number 6, awarding of contract for bleacher replacement. So this is for the CC. Can I get a motion? Motion by
Before we
Ms.
do that,
Hall.
do we have a timeline in their contract?
Do we, Jim?
It will be done this summer,
Okay.
definitely.
All right, motion by Ms. Hall, second by, I'll second it. Okay, that'd be nice. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby award the contract for the community center bleacher replacement project to Interkel Spectral Seating for a total amount not to exceed $181,548. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, 4
Sorry,
ayes,
who,
3, Ms. Hall and me.
okay.
Thank you. So
I
motion
just-
carries.
Question is, I guess, how their reviews, I guess, in regards to like fixing stuff and seats. Like, is that what they're known for?
I'm sorry?
Like this company in Turco Spectator Seating.
Yeah, they would specialize in
Seatings,
bleachers and,
Okay.
like arena
That's just,
seating.
that's what I want to ask.
All right, consent agenda. Resolution number 7, approval of consent agenda items. Can I get a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Obaid,
Second.
second by Mr. Gahaim. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the following items under the consent agenda. Items A, B, and then 1 through 7, just a bunch of hires in our regular meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4 ayes, 3 absent, motion carries. Board calendar updates. As you can see, next meeting will be July 9th, August 13th, and September 10th. All right, we're going to closed session. Can I get a motion?
Motion?
I heard Ms. Hall, second Mr. Obaid. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby go into closed session for the following purpose. Section 8C, collective bargaining strategy negotiations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4 ayes, 3 absent, motion carries. The meeting will go into closed session at 6:50 PM. order. We live? All right, resolution number 9, open session.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Obey, second by Ms. Hall. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby resume the meeting in open session at, what time is it? 7:38. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 4 ayes, 3 absent, motion carries. We have no audience participation, so is there
Do you
any
still have
more?
to ask if anybody has?
Is there any more?
anything?
Yeah, we have to, of course. Is there any more business to conduct?
No, I was gonna say, do you have to ask, like, is there anybody in the audience?
Well, we got no one here. so-
Okay, just making sure.
So the meeting adjourned at 7:39 p.m.